Good morning, and let me say something that might genuinely surprise you. For decades, the medical establishment has told people over 65 the same tired story. Slow down, take it easy, expect your body to decline, and accept that aging is simply a one-way street toward frailty. Doctors write it in pamphlets. Family members repeat it with good intentions. And most seniors quietly believe it, because it's what they've been told their entire lives. But what if I told you that belief is not just outdated, it's actively working against you? What if the real dividing line between someone who is frail and dependent at 70 and someone who is sharp, strong, and truly one of a kind at 85 has almost nothing to do with luck and almost everything to do with 5 specific things most people quietly stop doing somewhere in their 60s without ever realizing what they were giving up? I'm Dr. William Lee, and for the past several years, I've studied the emerging science of longevity and functional aging, the research that looks not just at how long people live, but at how well they live. And I need to tell you plainly what the newest research from exercise physiology labs, geriatric medicine departments, and longevity cohorts around the world is showing us directly contradicts the slow down and rest advice most seniors were raised on. Here is a number I want you to remember. In longitudinal studies following adults between the ages of 65 and 85 for more than a decade, researchers have consistently found that the single strongest predictor of who remains independent, mobile, and cognitively sharp deep into their 80s isn't genetics. It isn't the medications they take. It is a small cluster of daily habits, 5 of them, that separate the seniors who are quietly aging backwards on key biological markers from those who are declining faster than they need to. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through all 5. If you're between 65 and 85 and you're still doing even most of these, I want you to know something important right now. Before we even begin, you are not average. You are statistically and biologically truly one of a kind. Stay with me until the end because the 5th one surprises almost everyone I share it with, and it may matter more than the other 4 combined. I also want to say this before we begin, because I hear it in the comments on nearly every video I make. If you're watching this and thinking, I don't do any of these 5 things right now, please don't let that discourage you. The entire point of the research I'm about to share is that these systems in your body remain responsive at almost any age. This isn't a checklist designed to make you feel behind. It's a map of exactly where the leverage is so that whatever your starting point is today, you know precisely which 5 doors to walk through. Let's get into it. The first thing is resistance training, not simply staying active, but actually building muscle on purpose. Here's the myth I need to bust first. Most people over 65 believe that walking, gardening, or light stretching is enough to protect their strength as they age. It is not enough. It is better than nothing, and I always encourage movement of any kind. But here's what the research actually shows. After the age of 30, the average adult loses roughly 3 to 8% of their muscle mass per decade. That number accelerates sharply after 60. This process has a name, sarcopenia. And sarcopenia isn't just about looking less toned. It is the single biggest driver of falls, fractures, loss of independence, and even early mortality in older adults. A landmark study following thousands of adults over age 65 found that low muscle mass and low grip strength were more predictive of 5-year mortality risk than cholesterol levels, blood pressure, or even smoking history in some cohorts. Let that sink in for a moment. Your grip strength right now may be telling doctors more about your future than your cholesterol panel, but here's the encouraging part, and this is where the truly one-of-a-kind idea really comes to life. Muscle tissue remains remarkably responsive to resistance training at any age. Researchers have documented adults in their 80s who, after beginning structured strength training just twice a week, increased their muscle strength significantly within just a few months. Their muscle fibers didn't just maintain, they grew. Their walking speed improved, their balance improved. In several studies, previously frail participants regained enough strength to walk without assistive devices they had relied on for years. This is not about becoming a bodybuilder. This is about giving your muscles a reason to keep themselves. 2 to 3 sessions a week of resistance work, using resistance bands, light dumbbells, bodyweight movements like sit to stands from a chair or wall push-ups is enough to trigger this adaptation. The key principle your muscles respond to is called progressive overload, gradually asking a little more of your muscles over time, whether that's a few more repetitions or a slightly heavier resistance. If you've never done this before, start absurdly small, 5 sit-to-stands from a sturdy chair twice a day. That's it. Within 2 to 3 weeks, most people can comfortably do that 10 times. Within 2 months, many are adding light hand weights. The body adapts far faster than most people expect. The barrier isn't your biology. It's simply starting. I think of one study that followed a group of nursing home residents, average age 87, who were considered too frail for structured exercise. Researchers put them on a simple 8-week resistance program using light ankle weights and resistance bands. By the end, average leg strength had increased dramatically, and several participants who had needed a walker to cross a room were walking that same distance unassisted, average age 87. If bodies at that age can respond that strongly, the idea that resistance training is too late for you at 65, 70, or 75 simply doesn't hold up against the evidence. One more thing worth mentioning, you don't need to feel sore or exhausted for this to be working. In fact, for older adults, the research tends to favor a little and often approach over occasional intense sessions. 2 focus sessions of 15 to 20 minutes each per week, targeting the major muscle groups, legs, back, chest, arms, is enough to produce meaningful strength gains over a 3 to 6 month period. The goal isn't intensity. The goal is consistency. Your joints and schedule can actually sustain long term. The second thing is protein distribution, not just how much you eat, but when. This is the one that surprises almost everyone, including people who think they already eat healthy. Most nutrition advice for seniors focuses on eating enough protein across the day. That matters. But newer research on something called muscle protein synthesis shows that timing and distribution matter almost as much as total intake. Here's the problem researchers have identified. The typical eating pattern, especially among older adults, tends to be protein light at breakfast. Think toast, cereal, or fruit, moderate at lunch, and then protein heavy at dinner, often the one real meat and vegetables meal of the day. This pattern feels normal. It's how most of us were raised to eat, but there's a biological problem with it. As we age, our muscles become less efficient at using protein to build and repair tissue, a phenomenon researchers call anabolic resistance. Older bodies, past roughly age 65, seem to hit a ceiling. They can only effectively use about 25 to 30 grams of protein for muscle repair in a single sitting. No matter how much more is on the plate, the rest is essentially wasted for that purpose. That means someone who eats a small amount of protein at breakfast, a bit more at lunch, and a large portion at dinner is actually shortchanging their muscles for nearly the entire day. Even though their total daily intake number looks perfectly adequate on paper, researchers studying this even distribution pattern have found that spreading roughly 25 to 30 grams of protein across 3 to 4 meals, rather than backloading it at dinner, leads to measurably better muscle protein synthesis, better preservation of lean mass, and in several trials, better physical function scores over time. In practice, this is a simple shift. It means adding eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or a scoop of protein powder to breakfast, not skipping it or eating something protein-free. It means a lunch that isn't just a salad, but a salad with real protein in it, chicken, beans, tuna, tofu. Dinner can stay roughly the same. The change is almost entirely about filling the morning and midday gap that most people don't even realize exists. A simple rule of thumb: at each meal, ask yourself, where is my protein? If you can't immediately point to it on the plate, that's usually the meal that needs adjusting first, and for most people that meal is breakfast. Let me give you a concrete before and after because I find it makes this click for people. A typical day might look like this: oatmeal with berries for breakfast, roughly 6 grams of protein, a garden salad with a little cheese for lunch, maybe 10 grams. Then a solid chicken or fish dinner with vegetables, 40 grams. Total for the day, 56 grams, which sounds reasonable, but because it's so backloaded, the body can only meaningfully use a fraction of that dinner protein for muscle repair. Now compare that to 2 eggs plus a small serving of Greek yogurt at breakfast, roughly 25 grams. The same salad at lunch but with grilled chicken added, roughly 28 grams. And a slightly smaller but still satisfying dinner, roughly 25 grams. Total for the day, nearly identical, around 78 grams, but distributed in a way your body can actually use across all 3 windows. That difference, repeated daily over months and years, is what shows up in preserved muscle mass, grip strength, and physical function scores in the research. The third thing is what researchers call Zone 2 cardio, the boring exercise that quietly rebuilds your cellular engine. If resistance training is about your muscles, this next one is about the tiny power plants inside every cell of your body, your mitochondria. Mitochondrial density and efficiency decline with age, and this decline is directly tied to fatigue, slower recovery, and reduced stamina. The reason many seniors describe feeling like they run out of gas doing things that used to be easy for years. The assumption was that this decline was simply inevitable and irreversible. Research on a specific type of low-intensity, sustained cardiovascular exercise, often called Zone 2 training, referring to a heart rate zone where you can still hold a conversation but are working steadily, has shown something remarkable. In studies where older adults performed 30 to 45 minutes of this style of movement, 3 to 4 times a week, brisk, walking, cycling, swimming, anything sustained at a moderate conversational pace, researchers observed measurable increases in mitochondrial density within just weeks. Participants' bodies literally began building new cellular machinery for energy production. This matters enormously for the truly one-of-a-kind concept, because mitochondrial efficiency is one of the biological markers most closely tied to what researchers now call health span, not just how many years you live, but how many of those years you spend feeling capable and energetic rather than fatigued and limited. What I find most compelling about this research is what it shows on a cellular level. In several studies, older adults who committed to consistent Zone 2 training for 12 weeks showed increases in mitochondrial density that essentially matched what researchers see in sedentary people 20 to 30 years younger. In other words, consistent low-intensity cardio didn't just make participants feel less tired. It measurably shifted a biological marker of aging in the direction of a younger profile. If 30 minutes feels like a lot when you're just starting out, break it up. 3 separate 10-minute walks, one after each meal, produce very similar benefits to one continuous 30-minute session, and for many people it's far easier to fit into a day. There's also a secondary benefit specifically to walking after meals. Studies have shown that even a gentle 10 to 15-minute walk after eating measurably blunts the blood sugar spike that follows a meal, which matters more and more as we age. I want to add one more piece of encouragement here, because I know for some of you, the word cardio brings up memories of gyms, treadmills, or exercise classes that never felt sustainable. Zone 2 training was never meant to feel like that. It's meant to feel almost boring, a pace comfortable enough that you could describe your morning to a friend walking beside you without gasping for breath between sentences. That's the entire test. If you can talk easily but you notice you're breathing a bit more than usual, you're exactly where you need to be. There's no stopwatch pressure, no heart rate monitor required, though one can help if you enjoy tracking things, just consistent, comfortable movement 4 times a week for the rest of your life. The fourth thing is deliberate balance and proprioception training. And this is the one almost nobody does on purpose, and it may be the single most underrated tool for staying independent. Falls are the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injuries among adults over 65. But here's what's often left out of that conversation. Falls are not primarily caused by weak muscles alone. They are caused by a decline in something called proprioception, your body's internal sense of where it is in space and its ability to make split-second micro-corrections when you stumble, step on an uneven surface, or shift your weight suddenly. Proprioception, like muscle, is trainable. But unlike muscle, almost nobody trains it deliberately after childhood. We simply stop challenging our balance systems once we're adults, and so, quietly, that system atrophies right alongside everything else. Studies on structured balance training in older adults, simple practices like standing on one leg near a countertop for support, walking heel to toe in a straight line, or practicing controlled weight shifts, have shown reductions in fall risk of 30 to 50% in participants who practice consistently for as little as 10 minutes a day, several times a week. What makes this particularly encouraging is how quickly the nervous system adapts. Balance improvements from consistent practice are often noticeable within 2 to 3 weeks, faster than most muscle or cardiovascular changes. Your brain is essentially relearning a skill it never actually lost the capacity for it, simply stopped practicing. A simple starting routine: stand near a sturdy chair or countertop, lift one foot slightly off the ground, and hold for 10 to 20 seconds per side. Do this once or twice daily. As it becomes easy, progress to standing on a slightly softer surface, like a folded towel, or closing your eyes briefly for an extra challenge, always with something sturdy nearby to hold if needed. I remember reading about a community-based balance program that tracked participants over 1 year. Those who practiced simple balance drills like this for just 10 minutes, 3 times a week, didn't just reduce their fall risk. Many reported a return of confidence, confidence to walk on uneven sidewalks, to step onto a curb without hesitating, to carry groceries up a few stairs without gripping the railing out of fear. That psychological shift matters just as much as the physical one, because fear of falling itself causes many older adults to move less, which then accelerates the very decline they were afraid of in the first place. A few other simple additions worth building in over time: heel-to-toe walking along a hallway, as if walking a tightrope, for 10 steps at a time. Gentle standing marches, lifting your knees while holding a counter. And if you want a slightly more advanced challenge, once the basics feel easy, practicing standing up from a chair without using your hands at all, an exercise that in several studies correlates strongly with lower fall risk and is even used by some clinicians as a quick functional screening test. And now, the fifth thing, the one I promised you would surprise you the most: protected, prioritized sleep, especially deep sleep. The last one doesn't feel like doing anything at all, but the research here may be the most striking of the five. Deep sleep, the stage where the body performs tissue repair, immune regulation, and a process called glymphatic clearance, where the brain flushes out metabolic waste products, including proteins associated with cognitive decline, naturally decreases with age. By the time many people reach their late 60s and 70s, deep sleep can make up a fraction of what it was in their 30s. Here's the part that reframes everything. Researchers have found that this decline is not purely a fixed biological inevitability. A meaningful portion of it appears to be influenced by modifiable habits, irregular sleep timing, evening light exposure, alcohol close to bedtime, and simply not prioritizing sleep as a health behavior the way we prioritize diet or exercise. In studies where older adults improved something called sleep consistency, going to bed and waking at the same time daily, even on weekends, and reduced evening light exposure, researchers observed measurable increases in deep sleep duration and improvements in next day cognitive testing, mood, and even next day blood sugar regulation. Poor sleep has also been independently linked in multiple studies to accelerated markers of biological aging, including inflammation levels and glucose metabolism, meaning chronic poor sleep may genuinely be aging the body faster at a cellular level, not just making someone feel tired. This is why I said earlier that the final item on this list surprises people the most, and arguably matters more than any single one of the other four in isolation. You can do everything right with exercise and nutrition, but if deep sleep is consistently disrupted, the body's ability to repair, regulate hormones, and clear cellular waste is significantly hampered, undermining the very adaptations the other four habits are trying to build. Practical steps that research supports: a consistent sleep and wake time, even on weekends, dimming lights and reducing screen brightness in the hour before bed, keeping the bedroom cool and dark, and if possible, getting natural morning light exposure soon after waking, which helps regulate the body's internal clock and, in several studies, improved sleep quality that same night. There's also a piece of this that surprises people: naps. Many seniors nap out of necessity because nighttime sleep is fragmented, but long or late afternoon naps can actually push deep sleep later that night, making the fragmentation worse the next day. Research suggests that if napping is needed, keeping it under 30 minutes and earlier in the day, before roughly 2 or 3 in the afternoon, helps protect nighttime deep sleep rather than compete with it. Alcohol deserves a specific mention too, because it's one of the most common and most underestimated disruptors of deep sleep in this age group. Many people believe a glass of wine helps them fall asleep faster, and it often does, but studies using sleep tracking technology consistently show that alcohol suppresses deep sleep and REM sleep later in the night, even at moderate amounts, and even when the person doesn't consciously notice waking up. None of this requires perfection, even modestly improving sleep consistency. Going to bed and waking within roughly the same 30-minute window most nights has been shown to produce measurable benefits within just a couple of weeks. Of the 5 things on this list, this is often the one people are most surprised to learn is trainable, because we tend to think of sleep as something that either happens to us or doesn't, rather than a habit we can deliberately reshape. So there you have it, 5 things. And I want to be honest with you about why these 5 specifically. It isn't muscle alone or cardio alone or sleep alone. The research is increasingly clear that these systems reinforce each other. Resistance training builds the muscle that protein timing feeds. Zone 2, cardio builds the cellular energy that makes daily movement feel easier, which makes it easier to stay consistent with balance work. And deep sleep is the repair window that allows every other adaptation to actually take hold. None of these require a gym membership, expensive equipment, or hours of your day. What they require is consistency and the willingness to challenge the old belief that your body's job after 65 is simply to decline as gracefully as possible. The research increasingly says otherwise. Your body, at almost any age between 65 and 85, retains a genuine capacity to adapt, rebuild, and strengthen. If you give it a reason to, and if you recognized yourself in even 3 or 4 of these 5 things as I described them, I want you to sit with that for a moment. You're not typical. You're not average. Statistically, biologically, you're exactly what I mean when I say truly one of a kind. And the research suggests you're on a trajectory very different from most people your age. And if you recognize none of them, or maybe just one, that's all right too. That's not a verdict on where you'll end up. It's simply information about where the highest leverage is for you right now. Pick the one from today's list that felt the most doable. Not the most impressive, the most doable, and give it 2 honest weeks. The body doesn't care how far behind you think you are. It only responds to what you actually ask of it, starting today. My goal with this channel has always been to translate complex, evolving research into information you can actually use, not to replace the advice of your own doctor, who knows your specific health history, medications, and conditions far better than I ever could from behind a camera, and not to create fear or urgency where none is needed. Please talk to your physician before starting any new exercise program, especially if you have existing heart conditions, joint issues, or balance concerns. Some of what I described, particularly balance training, should be modified with a professional's guidance if you're at higher fall risk. Now, I want to hear from you of these 5 things. Which one are you already doing consistently, and which one do you think you've let slip the most? Leave a comment below and let me know your age and which habit you're going to focus on rebuilding first. I read every single one, and this community has become one of the most engaged and thoughtful I've had the privilege of being part of, and that's entirely because of you. If this video helped you see aging a little differently, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Because next week I'm covering something just as surprising, the specific overnight habit that's quietly raising many seniors' blood sugar even when they haven't eaten a single bite since dinner. I'll put a link to a related video right here on the screen if you want to go deeper on that topic right now. Take good care of yourself, you're worth the effort, and you are without question one of a kind.